Hello, and this is Fry Time Movie Reviews. I'm Ezra Tross.
I'm John Smith.
And I'm Michael Smith.
Okay, and so we just finished watching Aliens, the sequel from the original movie Alien, filmed in 1979, and Aliens came out in 1986. So there's one of those things where it was not a planned sequel, but it's one of those movies where it's kind of considered, it's one of those movies where the sequel was better than the original. One of the best sequels of all time.
I saw that at lots of places saying this is one of the best sequels of all times, kind of thing, and that it outbeat the first one, which was good.
Alien is it's a classic in its own right. So.
But this one was just a little better. So
this movie's very near it. I love this movie. It's very near and dear to my heart. It's a family favorite in my family. We love this movie. All of us do. So I've got thoughts. I'm more familiar with this movie than John and Michael are. That's why I'm leading the discussion today. So
you kind of exposed us to it in the first place when we were teenagers or younger. I remember you bringing it up more often and talking about it. And I think the first time I watched it was at your house, which was that many years ago, whatever it was, 20 years ago. I watched Aliens with you, so it had basically been that long. But it lives up to the hype, dude. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's good. I haven't even seen the first one, but it actually does really well as a standalone movie. You don't really need to see the first one to know what's going on. Like, they explain it all, and they don't leave you guessing, like, oh, what had just happened? They explain it very well, and I liked it. I watched it, obviously, 10, 15 years ago, whatever that was, and I didn't remember any of it. But I liked it. It was very good.
Right. I had chastised these guys because I remember that I had showed it to them and they enjoyed it, and then they never watched it again. I chastised them.
40 lashes.
Yeah. So and then we were like, hey, this would be a great idea to do a movie review on. So I'm glad we did it.
I
know. But yeah, Michael, like you were saying, it's a standalone movie. You don't have to have seen the first one, but then there are a couple of things that it does that it helps you understand from the first one, Alien. The first one was when they have that meeting about her destroying their commercial freighter because of the alien on board, and they kind of explain that a little bit through that meeting. And then then when you're introduced to the android Bishop, she gets really pissed off at him. She doesn't trust androids, and they kind of explain that situation of the android kind of
in the first one that betrayed them, and obviously she's got her reservations about them. So.
Right.
But yeah, that would be slightly confusing if you hadn't seen the first, but it's pretty easily explained. Michael didn't seem lost. So.
I mean, it's definitely a sequel, right? It follows right after whatever the events of the first one, but I feel like they do a good job of explaining what happened in the first one naturally throughout the movie so that you're not lost, even though you could obviously have gained more watching the first one.
Yeah, it just gives a little context on the aliens themselves and a little bit of what happened on their adventure. But yeah, you're right. But yeah, you want to jump into, I don't know, some details about the movie itself and what it earned and things like that.
So we looked up the score on Rotten Tomatoes. It got a 99%.
Dude.
Is that a critic score or audience?
That's a critic score. Wow. Audience score was 94%.
Wow. Still, that's fantastic when they're both that close. I don't know who that 1% is who's not on board, but they can get out of here, dude. Freaking loved it. 100%.
One critic was not a fan out of 100. Yeah. Not a big deal.
Unacceptable.
Well, that's what I was going to say. 99% is good. Should have been 100, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I do like Roger Ebert's. We have it. What he said about the movie. He gave it 3.5 out of 4 stars, and he said painfully and unremittingly intense, and a superb example of filmmaking craft. He said, when I walked out of the theater, there were knots in my stomach from the film's roller coaster ride of violence. I think that is a great description of the movie. I think it is a very intense movie. It's so intense.
It is. They do a really good job of building up like that suspense and anxiety and like tension. And they don't overdo it in a way where like there's some of these horror movies you watch where like that's just the whole movie is just one big when's something actually going to happen. But like they build up and then something happens, build up, something else happens, and like I think they execute it like just the right amount to not annoy me, but to be entertaining.
Yeah.
Anyway, So
What are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, it is an intense movie. It's kind of slow in the first half. Not gonna lie, the second half was great and really started picking up, and I was like hooked in the second half. The first half kind of took some time. You know, it is art, right? What he describes how they film it, like it's excellent filmmaking. You can tell that every shot is like really artistic and great. But in the day and age we're in now, sometimes it's like, okay, let's move it along. I get it. I've seen this thing for more than 2 seconds. I already know what it is. But it just kind of, it's a slower pace in the beginning, which is good. I'm saying it sets it, you're like getting sucked in. And then it just takes you on a roller coaster, just suddenly drops you off. And then you go back slow again, and then drops you off. You know what I mean? So it's
the way
that guy's description was good.
Ebert.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It's a good description of it.
It's actually the first one I think did a little too much of the sometimes being too slow. The first one's a bit slower, still very good, but leading in and recording a hallway and shit, like kind of building that suspense for a bit too long sometimes. This one they still did that, but I think they executed it way better. And like ultimately, like you don't have the first to compare it to as much, so, but I see your point, like. But they're trying to build the suspense. They're introducing a lot of new characters, and just characters in general, and that they have to establish what's going on in the plot points. So it seems a little slow, but you're learning, figuring it out. And I just watched this a month or so ago, so it was more interesting even the second time because I kind of already knew what was coming. I liked the build up and stuff. So.
And this is a James Cameron movie too. Remember, so he has very long movies, and he has a long build up and development.
Yeah.
This is when I loved James Cameron. This is before he started making movies that I didn't really care for. But
the only movie you're
Avatar?
talking about is Avatar.
No, it's not Avatar. Titanic is a super overrated movie as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just because he was an action director and went to like a more of a romantic. That movie is just way too long and like overrated.
It's
an
okay
movie.
to make long movies.
Anyway.
Which is fine.
That's okay. Yeah. That's I don't have a problem with long movies.
Sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. I think this movie, I definitely think it pays off, but it is sometimes slower paced. You're just like, okay, they're going in, they're checking every single room. Okay, when's something gonna happen? But it doesn't. It does take you by surprise. Even still, when stuff happens, it's like, oh, I did not expect all those aliens to jump out and just start trying to kill them. I thought there's gonna be like one alien.
Yeah.
There was like a lot. I guess I should have known by the title. Aliens with an S.
There's clearly more
But
than one.
when I was going into this, I was thinking there's probably one alien and it's killing everybody.
Picking
that was
him off.
That was the first one.
That was the first one, though.
That was
I missed out on that. So.
But you're right. Yeah. But I think the dialogue and script, and just generally good acting across the board, what made it so that even some of these seemingly slow moments or looking through, were still entertaining, and I didn't feel like it was dragging its feet, but it was slower than some of these fast-paced, movies we're used to nowadays, and it's all the Marvel movies and instant action happening right away. But I like the way you said it. The payoff is worth some of the wait. A lot of times in these movies, the payoff doesn't come as much to be like that was worth all the waiting. Yeah.
You made a good point too. During those slow moments, this movie's chock full of one-liners. Actually,
it really is.
There's a lot of good lines in this movie, so we can get into that later. But I did want to, yeah, okay, good. I did want to. We can start off with, let's say, one of the first big scenes. I would say is your introduction to the Marines, to the Space Marines, because they're
coming out of hypersleep.
Yeah, they're a big part of the movie. And they've got some really good characters. I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that?
There's so first of all, it's a bigger cast than the first one, and so there's more characters. But I thought they were more diverse. They all had a pretty specific quality about them. Vasquez, like this, strong woman who's super intense, and Hudson, he's like goofy and kind of the Joker, but lightens the mood. You got Hicks, who's just he's just kind of the hero guy. I don't know what you would call the protagonist, who's the main protagonist here. But I liked all the characters had a certain likability about them, I think, and they all had this interesting, unique element to them.
Yeah, in a way, it seemed kind of stereotypical. Like, oh, the Marines, haha, we're joking, dude. We're going to go kick some butt. And you're like, okay, who are these guys? But as you get to know them all individually, they are all very different, right? They all have their own personalities. And then some of them die earlier than others, and you're like, I never even knew that guy, and he's gone.
Yeah.
But some of them, the ones that last longer, you're like, you really get to know him. Like Hudson, man. I know he was like an idiot or whatever, but when he died, dude, I was so sad.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, he had a great character, and he was all about just running away, you know?
Right. Yeah. We laughed when they were saying after the first attack and most of them were wiped out. We gotta go back for him, and he immediately is just like, no.
He's like, fuck that, man.
Yeah.
I'm going out there.
Yeah. That's how he always
He's
talked.
like, yeah,
No, man, I'm not doing that,
he
man.
talked like
Let's
kind
go
of
home,
a
man.
doofus. Yeah, like what?
To me, well, the actor Bill Paxton, that's his defining role to me. When I see him in other movies, I can't see him
He's always Hudson.
as anything else other than Hudson.
He was a good Hudson.
He was great, and Vasquez was great, and the characters you get to know were great. But like the black sergeant dude, you didn't really get to
Apom?
know him that much. He had a
Apom,
cigar the whole time. That's all you knew about him.
He was really
Dude,
good at.
He loved that cigar.
How much do you think he chewed that cigar in real
I
life,
don't-
like to practice for the
They
role,
like,
man? Holy
like
crap.
all day. They like
Jeez,
zoomed
dude.
in on the cigar like 10
He
times.
was like chomping on it, man.
Yeah.
He wasn't just hanging in his mouth. He
Like it looked tasty the way he was doing it. Actually,
probably made of chocolate. Dude.
I feel like cigars are just fun. It would be a fun prop as
Yeah.
an actor to have. Like that's just like you can't not look kind of cool or interesting with with a cigar in your mouth. It's like I would love to have that
Yeah.
prop. So respect to that. The cigar is our go-to.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of characters, and some of them, I don't know, you do get to know them, but some of them I was like,
Yeah, there's a couple.
it took a while to figure out what their role was. You know, who was that guy and what was he doing? But
Chain of command. Who
Yeah.
was the lieutenant? He was like this nervous wreck.
Gorman.
Like
oh, that guy,
Gorman?
he got hit
Yeah.
by baggage. Like literally, like there was some turbulence. Baggage fell on him, and he was knocked out for no reason.
yeah, he's not. I mean, it's not unheard of, but it was kind of a weak way to be knocked out. But he's
well, that would be the way he would
But
get
he
knocked out
was-
because he wasn't even he wasn't combat trained or anything.
he
right?
He
was.
said he'd been in one battle before,
Yeah.
But
two, including this one.
But to that point, I think he did a really good job with that role. Like he's playing this
Yeah.
like trying to put on a brave face, but really kind of really scared and cowardly guy, and not in a dishonorable kind of way, but he was just
Yeah.
clearly scared. Whereas what's his name, Burke, was just a dishonorable tool.
Burke,
And
too.
actually, that twist kind of came at me. He seems really nice, Burke.
Yeah.
In the beginning, a good guy. You're kind of like,
gosh.
all right, he seems nice, but I actually didn't
Yeah.
see it coming that you.
I
Because
didn't
it's
either.
very similar to the first one, where there's someone who's just like, "Nah, we're trying to weaponize these aliens. F the rest of you." Like,
Right. So it switched the roles, right? I mean, like, what were your first thoughts of Bishop, right?
oh yeah.
What were those?
Well,
Dude, I still don't trust Bishop, dude. I don't know why.
Even after
at
all
the very
this
end, they're flying off in the sunset. I'm
Save
like,
the
dude,
day.
he's gonna like drop it into the ground and just kill them all. I don't trust Bishop, dude, and I don't know why.
there.
It's just something about his face and his hair and how I don't know.
Right. You weren't supposed to. Yeah, you weren't supposed to. And it had that scene where he's at med lab and he's looking at the
Yeah,
face
they-
hugger through the.
That's
he's
the
like,
one.
Yeah, and it's got that. It had
Beautiful,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. He says that, and he's looking at it intensely. It had that like ominous music in the background. You're
Yeah.
like, dude, he's just
Like,
like
it's
that
another
last
They
evil
dude.
don't want you to
android.
trust him, dude, and I didn't trust him.
And they did fool me with that. I was like, "Oh, is it gonna be another
I was
evil
waiting.
android?"
They give him so many ample opportunities to betray him. He crawled in that tunnel. He could have just left or
Yeah, he
killed him
could've
or
just
blown
left.
it off.
He-
Or,
Yeah.
You're like, maybe he's playing the long con. What's going on here? I don't know.
Right.
But that tunnel crawl though, I liked it.
Bishop, man.
He's the only one who could have survived that, man. That was claustrophobic.
And then in the end, he saved Newt, you know, with his half body grab
she
as she
would've
was floating down
Falling
the
into space almost.
Yeah.
He got ripped in half. That was yeah.
No, but Burke, he really did surprise me.
Yeah.
He turned to be so evil. He literally just tried to kill him.
Closing
at
the
end.
door on them
Wasn't even
constantly.
being subtle. Yeah. And you know, he starts by saying, "Oh, I want money, money, money." It's like at some point, don't you want to live? Like,
Yeah.
did he even care about his own life?
He
Well,
kissed
he
the
didn't care
company
about
way
their
too much.
lives.
I know.
He clearly, yeah, I know. He was just like dedicated to
He
the
sent,
business. Hard
he sent
worker,
them
dude.
all out there in the first place. He just like turned out to
Yeah.
be this evil, evil dude.
Yeah, and it's like to your point, he didn't care about other people's lives clearly because he was wanting them to get infected, impregnated, whatever. But at a point when everything's like going to hell, you'd think he'd be like, his life is clearly in danger. Let's all just kind of stick together. But like, no, he's like closing doors on them. But then he clearly got his comeuppance, so it's fine. Alien bit him in the face.
Right. I like, just a little side note, I like how in the movie you are introduced to because the company is a major theme in the series, and it does show the sign, and it's called Wayland Industries.
Wayland Smithers?
Yeah.
Wayland.
Right. And so that comes up and in the later movies and other stuff, the name Wayland comes out. But I like how in this one, and in the first one, you don't know what the company's called, but they just call it the company, right? I like that.
That kind of reminds me of Heroes. Don't they call it in Heroes, when they're hunting?
The company?
They're just the company. Anyways, just this concept of like
It's a
this
company
ominous,
man, dude.
what is
Right.
this like overarching company that's like kind of evil, whatever's going on, and they don't have good
The company, dude.
motives.
What do you think of when you think of the company, like in real world?
The company, yeah. I don't have
Amazon,
good thoughts.
Google,
Yeah.
the government,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
which is pretty much a company.
let's move on to Newt and Ripley. I think that was a great dynamic. And Ripley, we can get into Ripley for sure.
She's
She is
the
what makes the Aliens the franchise go, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ripley, Sigourney Weaver as Ripley is awesome. I had a cat growing up, and we named her Ripley. So she's very iconic in my family, my cat. And she was a tuxedo cat, by the way. But Ripley she was right the female lead, and this is in the 80s, right? So something that we've talked about a lot is the idea that a female can be in a strong role in a movie is not something new. Hollywood needs to they have to signal their virtue all the time now, and look how progressive we are. But this idea isn't new, and Ripley is proof of that, right?
It's been around since at least 79. Like
And before that,
it's
really,
way before that. There's
yeah.
been lead roles with strong female leads in movies, but nowadays it's more of, like you said, virtue signaling. They have to be like, look what we're doing. Look at this movie that has this female lead, and like they kind of push it in your face, and so it comes across less authentic and organic. Whereas with this movie and Alien, to kick it off, you don't feel like she's just like, I am woman, hear me roar. Like she just takes lead, takes control, and it seems really organic with the way Sigourney Weaver portrays it. It just comes off like she's just badass, and she's killing some aliens, and it's really good. So it doesn't seem shoved down my throat, and I like it.
Yeah, she is a natural leader, and she takes control in every situation. She doesn't take their crap in the beginning of the movie when they're saying, "Oh, you're probably just making this up." She's like, "No, she's not gonna take that crap." And by the end of the movie, she's a total badass. She just like is going out full on
Goliath.
to rescue Newt. It's like this rescue mission. She's loading up. It's a hero shot. It's great. And it really just feels natural, like it built up to that. And I like that they do it, that she is also like a motherly figure to Newt, right?
Yeah.
Newt calls her mom, and it's great. And she really is protecting this girl. She had her daughter, and Newt is kind of like there to replace, kind of in a way, because she never got to raise her daughter. And at the same time, though, she is a mother. She's a very strong mother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right, yeah, and that's the dynamic, right? I think that was really sweet in the movie how that happens. This girl loses her parents to the aliens, and Ripley
Finds out her daughter was
just
dead
died
since it's been so long.
Right, and so they kind of latched onto each other like that, and
It's like natural, again, organic, just like authentic feeling to it.
Right, and Ripley's so brave, right? And like you guys were saying, she takes control and she does what she has to do. She didn't have to, in the process of this movie, she's not emasculating any of the men. They're failing and she's the one stepping up. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
And especially with the conflict between her and the Queen, that it's like this, it's like these two mothers really. She's like, Ripley gets so fierce because she's protecting Newt. And which is pretty cool.
And the alien's trying to protect her eggs or keep them safe. Yeah, I didn't make that exact connection.
That's good.
But you're right. And I like that there's none of those corny lines where she's like, if you guys are done, playing around, here comes Mama. Or I don't know.
See who's, trying to see who's
like,
junk
all right,
is bigger
boys,
or something.
step
like
aside.
Yeah.
Like, there's none of those stupid, corny, like, again, I am woman, hear me roar lines. She just does it, and it's, again, that's the way it should be done. And I'm not saying it's always done in this over-the-top, here's the female lead way in every movie, but Aliens is probably the best example of just a solid female lead, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, I just want to stress it felt so natural. It really did. Like, she wasn't, like, trying to undercut these men. And they felt like they naturally would have failed in that situation. It was a hard situation. It didn't feel like, oh, well, they're just making the men fail on purpose so she can come in and be the hero. It just felt very natural. And by the end, that was one of the best scenes, man, at the end when she faces off with the queen.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't know what was going to happen. And then I thought, okay, well, she's going to sneak out and just leave. But then she just lights them on fire, man. That took me by surprise, and I was like, yeah, dude, total badass move.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about there's a lot of good scenes in that movie. What's some of your favorites?
Ones that stand out. Obviously, when she encounters the queen for the first time going to rescue Newt, like that's the hero shot. And what I also like, and I was going to mention this, is she's being very heroic and brave, but at the same time, you can tell she's scared too. But you can't really be brave if you're not kind of scared. And I think Sigourney Weaver portrayed that really well. While she's approaching the alien, she has that sort of fear there, but she's like overcoming it. It's not just walking down the lane through the flames like, I'm already like none can stop me. She was just going. She was going to do it, and she's like, whatever happens, happens. Anyways, but that scene stands out to me in general, just as far as just what is most front of mind, but there's a lot of other good scenes.
The queen scene is hard to top for sure, but at the end too, when she comes out again in that loading thing that looks like a robot machine. That was a pretty good one too, where she stands off against it and throws it in space again. That was great. Anything in the last half of the movie is pretty great.
Right. The last 30 minutes, or 30, 40 minutes.
It almost kind of one giant
It's so good.
Scene.
Right? And it had basically, the movie, I think, was building up, right, to that finale. It was pretty awesome. John, what you were saying about her being scared, but like you said, you can't be brave and not be scared at the same time. In Alien, she did the same thing. She was terrified. She didn't have the weapons, right, to kind of be as...
she was even less equipped, less experienced.
And she was terrified, but she was overcoming that and having to, do whatever she did to get rid of the aliens. So,
and it was even in Alien, and I think I mentioned this to you already, or probably in like our Marco Polo or something, but her coming forth and appearing as the hero and the protagonist, it, again, was really natural. And almost when you're first watching it, like if you didn't know who Sigourney Weaver was or who anyone was prior, you wouldn't know she was the main character. Like there was no, this is the main character. Like there's this crew and she's part of it. And it just, over the course of the movie, she comes forward and you start to realize she's just, and obviously the lone survivor, and it was supernatural. So anyways, just stressing that. We can't stress it enough.
Ripley did great. I mean, when I compare her to like strong female leads recently, Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, I don't know any other ones that come to mind. Rey from Star Wars, great example.
Yeah,
I think Sigourney Weaver as Ripley was way better, 10 times better, easily than any of them. It just felt more natural. It felt better. It felt like she was like a leader and not just shoved in your face. It's not that I don't like these movies we're talking about, or even these characters, Wonder Woman and stuff like that. It just, something about Ripley feels better. I don't know.
It's part of it. I think that balance. Just Sigourney Weaver did this excellent balance of the motherliness and like soft side to her, to the being scared when she needs to, but brave, and to just being a leader and taking over and generally badass. Like that's a lot to try and balance in one character, and she gets that like just right. And it's like she's super likable. We all want to be her and be with her. So. But as far as scenes, again, going back to best scenes, I also really liked the face hugger scene when it got out of its case and was about to get Ripley and Newt when they were locked in that room.
Yeah.
And just again the tension, trying to get the attention of everybody, and Burke being a dick, like turning off the TV, like so the building knows.
And that's when
that's when it's for sure you're like, oh, Burke's definitely evil.
Yeah.
But I kind of just like that scene.
Yeah.
They're cuddling, and then all of a sudden they're just scared. There's there's the fight, there's the initial when they encounter the aliens scene, they kind of stumble upon the nest, and Apalm and all them, and like the video footage is all terrible and they don't know what's going on. And
oh yeah, that's a really
Lieutenant
good
is
scene.
like scared to death, like what's going on?
Yeah, he's choking.
He's choking. He's trying to take control. Ripley is like, do this. You got to do this.
Ripley takes over, and then she just drives the car and saves them. She just does what needs to be done.
She just went to the wheel.
She takes action. She's like, all these people are not taking action. They're scared. They don't know what to do. And then she's just like ready to go. When it push comes to shove, she makes the right decision and does it.
Yeah, and there's this point I wanted to make about this whole female lead role that we've been talking about. You can't. I think you can't be progressive so you take a historically marginalized group, right? Like the females have been in Hollywood. You take them. You can't be progressive when you're just marginalizing the other group, right? Yeah. That's not progression. That's
just reversing the role.
Right. That's just reversing. So that didn't happen in this movie, right? So I think that's something to keep in mind.
Because Hicks is still like super honorable.
Yeah.
Like most of them are pretty still honorable the whole movie. Hicks is that good guy. Bishop, of course. And he's a robot, but he's still a male robot.
So yeah, that I think we can all agree, right? The scene when she stumbles upon the nest and she sees the queen for the first time, that's probably the best scene in the movie. The whole thing when she comes down from the elevator, the hero shot. There's no music for a lot of the parts. There's no music.
Yeah, you're right. So much tension
during these scenes. I like to, because we weren't alive when the movie came out. I always trying to imagine what it was like in the theater. This is to me is one of those just Hollywood blockbuster movies that were just awesome on the big screen, right? So I try and put myself in that mindset of having not seen this movie for the first time. How you try to do when you see these movies that you love, and I just try and get into how intense and how suspenseful that whole scene is, right?
Yeah.
I love it. And she finds the queen. I like it when she takes Newt and she's about to attack, and then she points her flamethrower at the eggs and is trying to communicate with the queen, right?
So
she knows.
Calls it off.
She's like,
whoa, back up, because the two little minions were coming.
Yeah, she tells her minions to back off, and as she's going, she thinks she's going to be sneaky and has one of her eggs open up to, for one of the face huggers to come out, and then Ripley's like,
she gives her that.
Wow, seriously? She's like, okay, you're done.
Boom.
Yeah, and then just starts to
lights him up.
Yeah, lights him up. It's so cool, man. That's such a good scene.
Flamethrowers, dude. I also like. This is just a random. Maybe it doesn't stick out to you guys at all, but even the very beginning, that kind of meeting council, and Ripley's kind of pleading her case, saying what happened, and some of the back and forth there. I thought it's just generally like it wasn't like super actiony by any means, but I like some of the back and forth of her with like whatever that guy was, the CEO, and that random woman with the terrible haircut. She says that. I mean, we'll get to quotes, but she says that line. What is that? Did IQs drop while I was gone? Like, she's like, you guys are so stupid. Like, I'm telling you, there's these aliens. I thought Sigourney Weaver came across again. It's her. It was her scene. The whole movie's hers. But just a little honorable mention.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know what you're talking about too. And whenever when Ripley swears in these movies, like Sigourney Weaver's delivery is just like spot on. Whenever she swears. I think it's really good when she gets angry. It's very spot on, I think.
Yeah.
So she does a good job with that.
It doesn't sound fake or like forced or anything. It sounds, again.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound crass either. It's just like she's intense.
Right, good point.
Yeah.
I would definitely say she's the best actor and she holds it all together.
Yeah.
Like, she did great. Everything wasn't over the top. It wasn't like, it was just perfect. Felt really organic. Felt normal. Felt real.
Yeah. Was there any? I think the cast in general was excellent, but was there anyone that stood out as maybe like, like this person wasn't super great, or someone
Like
that
the
clearly
worst
sucked.
actor for this movie, or
Yeah.
someone that just doesn't.
I mean, we
fit.
don't have to go out of our way to be like this guy sucked, but if someone,
I could give you one. Drake. He's the Vasquez's partner guy.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like that really
he
pale
got
guy.
acid on like half his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
oh
that.
Boggs,
He
dude.
did like a few
Yeah.
pull-ups in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know.
He was
I
bad.
felt like he didn't totally pull off the "I'm a badass Marine" guy.
No, he didn't
Yeah,
at all
okay.
because he looked a little
He's a little too
albino,
pale.
and there's no
pale.
badass albino. It just doesn't exist.
not as toned, a little pale.
Yeah.
You know, older. I know. All I can think of is him as one of the sisters from what was it? Shawshank Redemption. You guys know that movie? He was one of the prisoners that keeps trying to rape Tony Robbins.
Yeah,
Ew.
he's really just. I
He
remember
does,
that
I'm
now.
sure.
Yeah, he's really just not
So
that.
it's hard for me to get that out of my mind.
Yeah, so I mean, I could put him as worst actor.
Yeah, but
he
he was in it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, he
He
got
did
his
a
face
couple push-ups, then he
burned
got
up.
burned in acid.
Well, even less than him was, I guess he's one of the guys that died in the initial finding of the aliens. There was some other black guy,
Frost.
Frost. Was that his
Yeah.
name?
How do you know all their names?
Dude,
They didn't
I
even
know
give
this
us
Seen
their
movie,
it a lot,
dude.
line.
you know,
They
and
maybe mentioned it like one
he
time,
seemed
or they had
cool.
to zoom in.
He had like
Yeah.
a funny line here or there. He's like,
And he
oh,
had
I
like
guess she
an-
didn't like the cornbread.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I like. No, he wasn't bad. I'm not saying
Yeah.
he was bad, but I'm just remembering who was gone pretty quick.
And he had like an 8-pack too. Like when he got out of the thing,
Yeah,
dude,
he was
he was like
pretty
rich.
strong man.
People, for sure.
Anyway,
And
Yeah.
I don't want to bash Newt's acting by any means, but kid actors are they never can fully. It's really hard for children to seem super authentic to me in some of these movies. So there were some times when I felt like she was just reading her line, but you know, she did her role well. She was just a scared, emotionless kid most of the time.
It was okay.
I liked her though.
There aren't like a ton of lines in the whole movie. There's not a lot of talking, A lot of it is facial expressions and stuff like that. So with a kid, it's hard. I mean, what facial expression are they going to have?
I know.
I
But
think
she was cute.
for the most part, actually, Newt did a really good job, and I know that's
Yeah.
kind of what you were saying. I think what came off was this accent just started coming out, which I don't think was
Yeah,
supposed to. I think that
that's
was the
true.
main issue.
Every once in a while, and maybe that's what took me out of it. Like she's acting, just some little accent would come through. So I don't know if she was British or Australian, but for a kid doing just an American accent, if you're not American, that was pretty dang good. So I don't know, but by no means is she the worst.
It's hard to give a worse actor. I
Nah,
mean, none of them were.
This is a
bad.
99% movie.
Usually, there's an actor that stands out as okay. That guy was just a bad
There's no Ginny
role, but
Weasley.
there wasn't. There's no
Yeah.
Jenny Weasley.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really isn't. Ripley obviously was the star, and she owned the show the whole time. It was her movie, and you could tell. But at the same time, she let everybody else do their thing, and nobody did bad. I don't think.
So besides Ripley, who would you give best actor to?
Yeah, because obviously Ripley gets it, or Sigourney
man.
Weaver. But
And
I'd
I
definitely
guess
say Hudson.
okay.
Dude, he fit that role perfectly, dude. Every line he fit it perfectly. Dude,
Yeah.
game over, man. Game over.
I loved Hudson, and I think he's very funny and did his role well. I don't know if I'd say best acting though, only because sometimes it did seem a little over the top or dramatic, and that was his character. But to me, sometimes I was just like, he's being a little too goofy or something. But he was excellent, and I wouldn't trade him for the world. But I think, I don't know, Bishop. I think he did a really good job. The guy is playing a robot technically, but he did I felt like he seemed like a robotic, and he also seemed like he was mysterious. You didn't know if he was kind of good or bad. And they
Dude, I
kinda
still
set it up
think
like
he's
that.
evil,
Michael
man.
still thinks he's evil.
I'm not
funny.
convinced. I'll never trust him.
I thought he was really good. I thought the whole crew was pretty good too.
There's so many good characters in this movie, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, dude. Hudson. I think Michael had hinted to it in the movie. Like there was probably some like corny lines, but Hudson made them really good
Yeah,
actually. So like when he was like, "I'm the ultimate badass," but he was awesome when he said it actually.
Yeah.
But
He sold it a little better
Yeah.
than most others would, I suppose.
Honestly, a lot of his lines are like kind of dumb, like "Oh man, let's get out of here." But the way he portrayed it was perfect.
he's history, man.
He did it well, so that it was like
man.
whatever, dude. That is, and he would like his lips would like tremble, and you were just like, "Yep, that's Hudson over there,
Yeah,
just
his
scared."
lips, his facial expressions were probably the most animated of anyone's. So I did like that.
Yeah.
I think he's fine.
So you say Hudson. Yeah, Bishop was really good, right? I think somebody who always gets lost, and it's amazing because he's really cool, is Hicks. Somehow, Hicks is awesome.
He would have been my next in line there.
But let me, since we always have to have different people who we talk about. Really great acting was Paul Reiser as Burke, right? Because he's just a slime ball, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
He was a slime ball. Because, like you said, you think maybe this guy's not that bad, right? He's
got his collar popped.
Oh yeah, Michael had a very interesting observation during the movie.
Dude, they all have their collars popped. It's like the fashion of the future. Is they have this suit coat with half of the lapel down and the other half popped. And it's just what they did the whole movie. And everyone did it, but especially Burke.
And then Ripley was just like, I gotta pop this collar too, dude.
Halfway through the movie, Ripley's like, all right, I guess I'll do the same thing.
We don't see her pop it up, but we look at her, she's wearing her leather coat and it's just up. We're like, she has assimilated to the culture.
Yeah.
Burke was good though.
Yeah, he's very good.
You really didn't know what to think of him at first. And then
I guess you're just he's the villain, so inside you kind of don't want to mention, but he's absolutely. It was a great actor.
I don't even remember, how did he die? I don't remember him dying.
The alien. He was closing the doors on everyone. He was like and then he turned around. There was a vent, and the alien was just in it.
It was just the alien
face coming out, and he's like. Ugh.
They all died, so it's kind of hard to except for Hicks, Newt, and Ripley, and I guess Bishop, but
he was never really alive.
He wasn't. So I mean, it's just. I guess in the first one, they literally all die except Ripley, is what you guys said. Yeah. But in this one, it feels like a lot of them just...
But the crew was like 8 people in the first one.
Yeah. It was a big crew, a lot of people.
I think you were still at the end, you were pleasantly surprised. Okay, it wasn't just Ripley at the end. There were a few others. Not very many, but... I
thought Newt was dead. I was like, oh, she's going to die.
It seems pretty bleak. She was taken in the water. She was... she found the tracker and... No Newt with the tracker, and
I thought they were gonna find like an arm, with the tracker on the arm, and then I was like, she's dead, dude. She's dead. Newt is dead. And then I thought maybe she'd be like impregnated with the alien, but no, dude. Everything was fine with Newt somehow.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to get into your favorite lines?
Oh, man. Dude.
I took notes of some. There's probably more. It's like you said. There were a lot of the lines are short and quick, or just one-liners. But I listed a few that I like. You guys can say what you like or if you like them. So did IQs drop while I was gone? I just thought it was a nice zinger. There's also another zinger when Hudson was talking to Vasquez. Have you ever been mistaken for a man? She said, no. Have you?
That was a good one.
Boom. He got roasted.
Yeah.
There was one scene when they I forget what was happening. One of the crew was getting attacked or something. He's like, we go back in there and get them. And Hudson just says, that, dude.
Immediately.
After that.
That's the best line right there.
There's also, and I'm just going to say it, because it doesn't work any other way, he says, f***ing A!
After when she suggests to nuke the whole place.
Like, I just say we go up and nuke it. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Hudson's lines are all the best.
Hudson has a lot of... There was... Ripley said... I think... Burke was talking to her about the expensive ship, right? How much millions of dollars and blah, blah, blah. That's all this. And Ripley just says, they can bill me.
Yeah. Like, that's a really good one.
Another zinger. Like, let them bill me. Like, when Newt, when Ripley explained that Newt survived, she's a little girl and she survived with no weapons and blah, blah, blah. And what does Hudson say?
Why don't you put her in charge?
Why don't you put her in charge?
The way he says it, too.
Yeah.
Put her in charge.
Yeah. Like, right.
Oh, gosh, dude. He's great, Hudson.
Which would have been funny. Happy to disappoint you, she said when they all find out Burke's completely trash.
Dude, why didn't they just nuke it? I don't get it.
Like, they had to get off planet first.
And the ship crashed.
Oh, that's right.
So that's what they were going to do, and
that's
then they couldn't get off.
Game over, man.
Yeah. Alien got into
Game Over Man is a very in pop. It comes up a lot in pop culture. Game Over Man. Well, I'll get into the StarCraft stuff.
Because that's a whole piece.
Yeah.
There was in the beginning, Burke says to Hicks, like, you're just a grunt, and he's like, no offense, and then. Later in the movie, when they find out Burke's a evil douchebag, Hicks grabs Burke and says, like, all right, we're going to waste him. no offense.
Yeah.
Like right to his face.
No
Like,
offense.
he's like, all right, we're gonna waste him. Grabs him to put him up against the wall, like ready to kill. And then, of course, I think probably the most classic line when Ripley comes out in the machine, ready to fight the alien. And she says, or was that the scene? When did she say?
Yeah, right.
And she says, "Get away from her, you bitch."
Yeah.
It's just too epic. That's like
a great line.
It's just.
I was
epic.
expecting something super corny, but that was a great line. It wasn't corny at all. But I was expecting something like
Some McBain lines.
"Time to load these boxes" or something like I don't know. But
And I can
man.
I can just picture the movie theater. I can just picture the movie theater during that part, and she says that, and then like cheers,
Like
right?
everyone would be like, "Yeah!"
Yeah.
I would be like standing up, like, "Woo!"
Yeah. I can just picture that right now.
Because that's like you don't mess with my pretty much daughter at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
and she says it so good. I think it's one of those lines where nobody can quite capture it as well as Sigourney Weaver. It's kind of like when, besides the fact that everybody does the accent horribly, when everybody says "I'll be back," they always do it. It's just it sucks whenever they say it. Right? Only Arnold Schwarzenegger can say it. I feel like this is a line that Sigourney Weaver nailed.
it's hers.
you mean like "Hasta la vista, baby"?
Yes, that too.
Everybody says it like
right.
I just said it,
And they say it the
terribly,
worst.
but
Right.
he says it like great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know
Bane,
what?
dude.
You know what I thought? So that line, "Get away from her, you bitch." Didn't Molly Weasley? Was that the exact line she says in
No,
the
she
Harry
said,
Potter?
"That's my daughter, you bitch."
Okay, I was like,
Not my daughter, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something about her daughter.
That's
Yeah.
Which I'm like,
it's her
let
daughter.
Jenny die, if you ask me. But whatever.
Like, oh, Ginny. Oh no.
Not my daughter, Jenny.
Anyway.
Actually, yeah, go ahead and kill her.
But those are just ones I wrote down. I don't know if you have any other honorable mentions. If any of those are absolutely your favorite that stand out.
This wasn't like a quote heavy movie. I mean, these are all great quotes.
Yeah,
but
it's more of the.
it's more of an
visuals,
artistic visual sound
thriller.
effects. Like it won those awards you were talking about. It won some awards for visual effects and sound effects. And it was a great artistic movie that
Yeah.
really draws you in and stuff like that. But it's
Oh, those
it's
are-
not these lines that are really there's not heavy dialogue. so to
Yeah, there's
speak,
no.
so.
Yeah.
Those are all great lines though.
And
Come on.
John we had found we had learned that in this movie Sigourney Weaver was nominated for Best Actress in this movie. Obviously, she didn't win it because I know that she's never. As far as I know,
gotten
she's
it.
never
Should have won it if you asked me.
But
Who
yeah.
won it that year is my question.
No, I don't know. Probably.
You never know. What is
Best
it, 86?
actress in '86, like
Wow.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
That's all-
Meryl Streep.
that's
It was
all.
probably Meryl Streep,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Something.
Or they probably wanted to give it again to Katharine Hepburn or something, you know. But for Lifetime Achievement Award. But
But yeah, she
which
was
is cool because as it had been mentioned, it was a big deal because the Oscars, Hollywood completely ignores these sci-fi movies, act like they don't
Most of the time,
exist,
yeah.
right? The only thing they ever get are technical achievements. So that was
which
really
is what
good.
it got.
Which is they got visual
Yeah.
and sound, but yeah, you're right. They're usually these artistic, like whatever Forrest Gump type
Yeah.
movies that are good in some of them, but like yeah, the more artsy ones. But yeah, this genre doesn't usually get in there, and to be nominated for it and to be a female lead in it, it's like that was probably like a really big deal. So that in and of itself to be nominated was pretty
Yeah.
much an accomplishment.
This movie is very. I feel like it doesn't get a lot of attention as a franchise, especially in
Yeah.
this movie.
Look at us, me and Michael.
Yeah.
We
Um,
overlooked
It's the
it for
only
so
one
long.
of it I've ever seen. I know there's like 7 of them now.
Wow.
There's 3 in Prometheus and Alien vs
Resurrection.
Predator and Alien Resurrection. There's a lot, and this is the only one I've seen. Maybe I should go see the other ones now.
This is definitely the best one.
Apparently,
It
1 and
is.
2 are the only real good ones.
Yeah. But the movie is really highly, and Alien as well, is very highly influential in Hollywood. Movie people know it pretty well.
Who are in the industry
Yeah.
for sure.
I do want to kind of mention how my favorite game, one of our favorite games of all time, StarCraft, is highly, highly influenced
I can
by
totally see
aliens.
it all
And
now.
you can see it.
It's
Yeah.
Watch
Terran and Zerg. That's who this is. Terran versus Zerg.
Yeah, the Terrans or the humans are, a lot of it. They take a lot from, and they do it. They do it shamelessly. They have shout outs to this movie a lot in the game.
Yeah.
The Terrans are modeled after the Space Marines, and the Zerg are clearly modeled after the Xenomorphs in this movie. There's
Is that what the alien species is called?
yeah, I think
They
that's
did
what they
mention it.
officially call
That's
them. That the
something. I
Xenomorphs.
missed it.
Yeah. StarCraft is
Hydralisks,
very
dude.
obvious.
Queens. Like
Yeah.
the whole creep concept
Yeah.
is kind of there. And
What's the line that they say the Valkyrie says?
It's the drop ship. So one of the units in the game StarCraft, the drop shift, when you're moving around, they talk. It says in the 5x5, taken directly from this movie. And she also goes, wait, what's the other one?
I don't know.
Oh, she says something else, which is exactly what the dropship lady says.
And there was
And one of the cheat codes, which is all it is a shout out to this movie. One of the cheat codes is Game Over Man, and what it does is it ends your game in defeat. It ends it in defeat, which obviously you don't. But so it's clearly just a shout out to this movie.
I just think that guy getting on that dropship right before they said Game Over Man, the guy gets on the dropship and he's like, "What's this sticky stuff?" Yeah, I won't worry about that. And then he gets on the ship, and then of course there's an alien on there that kills him and crashes the ship. But I'm like, how do you not look at this and think, oh, maybe I should report this or ask about it or check it out or I don't know, do something.
It's like, oh, some alien goo. All right, whatever.
What is this alien goo? I don't care. Whatever.
I also think it's funny they were just chilling out in the ship the whole time.
They were very safe on that. Well, until they were killed, obviously, I guess. But they didn't get the worst of it, I guess.
Can I just say that I think the alien, the concept of this alien species and how they work and how they lay their eggs and how they look is just awesome in and of itself. Obviously, it's iconic. The alien image of this alien in the movies, you see that and you instantly know this franchise and think of it. But I think just the aliens themselves, and they're again, the way there's this egg hatching, what is it called? A face hugger thing that comes out of an egg that latches to your face, that suffocates you, plants an egg inside you, and then the alien bursts out your chest, and that's the alien. I just feel like that was really original.
Yeah.
Just cool idea that, I don't know, just give that itself a shout out, just creativity for that. It's a unique alien race. It's not just those green, big-eyed aliens you see on cartoons.
And I'm telling you, if they made that movie today, it would look terrible.
You're probably right.
It would be all CGI'd, and you'd be like, oh, I mean, sure, it is pretty, but it's just not scary or realistic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This was scary. This was realistic. You were like, oh my gosh, what is that thing with a mouth inside a mouth inside a mouth? What's going on?
Yeah, it's gritty realism for sure. Yeah, and that's another thing that they put in StarCraft, the Zerg. You have infested Terrans; they get infested by. It's not the same thing as the alien bursting out you, but you get infested by these aliens.
It's definitely a homage to the movie, I'm sure.
Yeah, but the craftsmanship.
Oh yeah,
is awesome. Right. Too much CGI is not.
It has its place, and sometimes it's necessary. Like the Marvel movies, I think did really well with it, but it's also overwhelming sometimes, and just you don't get that sense of realism as much as good as graphics can be. So it's cool to see that they
at some point at some point they won't even need actors because they can literally just CGI Carrie Fisher
to look
even though she's passed away.
They did.
No,
you're right, and it just makes you appreciate the time. Not just, you pointed out, it's not just oh man, they worked hard building the puppet. That automatically means it, or the mechanic thing, that automatically means it's better. It could look really crappy, and I wouldn't like it if it looks corny, but it didn't. It looked good, and it brought a sense of realism. Just like Peter Jackson did with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. A lot of actual, puppets and making things and models that just made it way more real, sort of, you're there. So, anyways, I liked that a lot.
Wasn't James Cameron only 31 years old when he did this?
Yeah.
What movies had he done before this? I'm wondering because
Terminator.
The first Terminator had just come out, I believe.
And maybe I can't remember what year The Abyss came out.
He did Terminator 1 before this. What about 2? No.
2 TT was in 91, I think.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean,
which was fantastic.
Yeah.
He had a really good early career.
Sequels.
It's interesting that he took this as a sequel, and obviously he didn't direct the first one.
But he ran with it.
But he did his own thing, and I think he did really well. Yeah.
I'm 31 right now.
I know.
Me and John are 31. I could not make, especially a movie this good. Right.
Yeah, and he'd obviously been making movies before it. So
that's crazy.
There's people
how young he was.
Talent, and obviously James Cameron has sort of his own. He thinks pretty highly of himself. We know that.
Yeah.
He deserves it in many respects. Maybe not lately. I don't know much, but he did some great stuff early on. So give them credit. So I don't know. Any other? Were there any plot holes or unanswered questions in this? Not that I'm digging, but was there anything that was like, eh?
I just wanted to say, like, I didn't see the first one, but sometimes it was kind of hard to follow what's all going on. Like, why does Ripley need to go with them at all? Why are they going to these colony people? What's going on? Like, sometimes I'm like, why do they need to be doing what they're doing? Why are they going down to this one place? You know? And then I would ask you guys, and you'd explain it, Ezra especially. You'd explain it to me, and I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. But for some reason, as I'm watching it, it isn't all coming clear sometimes.
Yeah, I grasped a little more this watch around as opposed to a month ago, but I knew the general idea. Ripley obviously was like this consultant who had a run-in with the alien, and Burke had his intentions of whatever in the first place, screwing the whole mission over. So,
yeah, but what does Burke want? He wants weapons.
Wants to bring
so they want during this whole thing in the first one as well. The company wants the aliens for their bioweapons department.
They just want to make weapons,
whatever a bioweapon is, like
out of
organic.
them somehow.
Yeah, kind of weaponize the aliens themselves, or use right. That's what that's what it's always been about with the aliens and the company. They will use whatever means
dude.
possible.
Sounds like Avatar. If you ask
Seems a little far-fetched.
It's all money. Let's
respects.
make weapons and money out of this stuff.
Was it? I'm trying to think practically. Was it? You think like their acidic blood, like the acid that they were like after? What else about the alien makes them be like, oh, I got to turn this into a weapon? So that's kind of their main defense, and
they don't really explain it.
Well, it's kind of that hubris of people, like we can control these things, right? Oh, and actually, that's a point I wanted to make. I think the xenomorphs are one of the you were talking. It's just one of the best constructed, crafted movie monsters out there. I think they're so vicious. I think they could, like, if you're doing one of those nerdy conversations, I think a xenomorph can take on just about anything.
Right? They got that tail they can whip at you and stab you. They got a mouth on them and a mouth that comes out and snaps at you. They're pretty quick.
Like
acid blood.
And they brought the Predators and the Alien movies and brought them together, right?
Alien vs. Predator.
And
Predator is Protoss, right?
Yeah, Predators are Protoss in StarCraft, by the way. But I think an Alien the Predators are supposed to even be more badass, and they've got all this technology. But I still give the edge to a xenomorph because Predators have honor, right? Because if you go into the Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Predator sees Arnold Schwarzenegger as this equal, and he takes off his mask, which helps him see, and so Xenomorph has no honor. It doesn't care about that stuff, right?
Bloodthirsty.
Is the ultimate survivor, right? That's why most of the time I'll take it against most movie monsters. Yeah.
They have 100% that just animalistic. I'm supposed to be populating and surviving, and that's all it is.
That's its overriding.
Nothing else matters. No feelings or emotions, or sympathy. So, and they're vicious. So, I think overall, I'm more curious of Michael's overall opinion, but mine, I loved it. I don't watch a lot of scary movies, you could say, and I don't think this falls directly into scary movie category. It's more of an action thriller and sci-fi thriller. Yeah. So I don't watch this genre a ton, but this one, it's a very rewatchable movie. I like all the actors. I like the mechanics and the visuals and I don't know. I really liked it. So I would give it, if I had to put out of 10, I'd give it a 9 at least, maybe 9.5 even. It's hard for me to give anything a 10. That's just my nature, but it's up there. I really like it.
Yeah, I'm giving this movie a 10, guys.
10, dude.
I'm giving it a 10, guys.
I figured as much.
Yeah, I think you saw it. This is one of my favorite movies. It's a masterpiece to me. I give it a 10.
Masterpiece.
I probably would give it either a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It's kind of hard to get a 10 out of 10.
Dude, 7. Are you kidding? That's super low. That's like super low.
That's even like you gave Harry Potter 7.
Look, I mean, I've expressed my problems with it. I think the first half is a little too slow, and it does pay off in the end. But for me, if I were to watch this again, I'd probably watch the second half and only the second half because that's where all the best stuff happens. And that's starting from when. I mean, there's just so much buildup in the beginning. I have my problems with it, It doesn't have a lot of dialogue. Some of the plot is hard for me to follow. Maybe if I watched the first one, I'd understand it.
Well, you guys were like quoting Seinfeld during the movie, you know.
All
so.
right,
Michael, missing things. I'd seen it.
Yeah, it would either be a 7 or an 8. I mean, what movie? If
All right.
you act like that's bad,
dude, that is bad for this.
But a 10 out of 10 is perfect. I don't think anything would be a 10 out of 10 because that's perfect. The closest you get is like 9.5.
All right.
I don't know. My scale is different than yours, I guess. I
It
apologize.
is.
I liked this movie a lot. I'm not saying I didn't like
His
it.
first exposure
Yeah.
in a very long
I
time.
will say that these older movies, 80s movies especially, when you compare them to recent movies, they are very different. Sometimes they're harder to watch because you're like so used to current movies where it's like everything's handed to you like on a silver platter. It's just instant gratification. Okay, here's that, here's that, here's that. This movie, you really have to invest into it, which maybe I wasn't doing as much. I don't know.
Well, some movies, watching the ones that come before our time, before we were even born, I can get that, right? You didn't grow up. We grew up with certain movies coming out, and our minds are sort of wired to expect certain things in the ways movies come out now. So I can sort of see that limitation, but I don't. In this one, I don't. In first Alien, I might give you that pass a little bit. This one, not as much. Aliens. But I mean, Star Wars came out before we were born and stuff too, and I would give those mostly 10 out of 10.
I don't
The
know,
originals.
10 out of 10. I'd give them like 8.
The originals?
Yeah.
Star Wars?
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
your guys' scale is like everything
Man.
that you think is really good is 10.
What would you
like-
put higher than like Star Wars?
A movie better than Star
Besides
Wars?
like Lord of the Rings, I would also pretty much give 10s. I mean, I'm a nerd. We're nerds here. I'll give it.
Dude, I don't give everything a 10 out of 10. I'm just saying
can't
I give this movie a 10.
Even all the first 3 Star Wars trilogy, I can't give them all 10. I can't give all the Lord of the Rings 10. You have to I have a
Yeah,
scale.
no, you gotta reserve.
That's okay.
If I give one movie 10, then the next movie, Two Towers, is even better.
This
or
is
something.
very official stuff. We're documenting it.
Dude,
I gave it a 7. If you want me to change it, I'll do a 7.5. I mean,
That's fine. We're just giving you a
no,
hard time.
that's fine. But I'm not throwing out 10s. Okay.
I know,
Yeah,
I
this
get
is,
that. You think this is like
Yeah,
the best
so-
movie ever made? Then
Yeah.
One of.
Okay.
One
no,
of the
one
best.
of my favorites. Dude, I've probably got a couple of 10s. But
I mean,
And you
you're
have to
just
consider,
throwing
you
this
have to
out.
consider
at
the
me.
genre. If you like
For the genre,
specific
for
to this
sci-fi?
genre, for sure, it's probably the
Okay.
top. But yeah, maybe because I don't watch sci-fi horror thrillers a lot in general, so maybe I would have to take it back a bit,
Whoa.
but I'm not going to.
I'd have to look up, some of the best movies of all time to get. I don't have it readily at mind, or some of the best sci-fi movies even. You got to compare it to everything else that's out there, and I don't know what else is
true.
out there.
The whole world.
But if I really liked the movie, does that mean it's a perfect 10 out of 10?
well, apparently Citizen Kane is the best movie ever made. So you gotta.
Yeah,
that's what it needs to be
Well,
compared
I've looked
to.
this up before, and you see like The Godfather,
Titanic,
Citizen Kane, and I'm like, I watched The Godfather. Wasn't that great?
Dude, I thought that movie was boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we can talk about that maybe another time. But
I
yeah,
haven't even watched it.
maybe I have to watch it a
haven't
second
been-
time. I only watched it one time.
I'm not
so.
going to review Godfather probably,
Yeah.
so don't worry about it. But
Yeah.
this movie, I'll change it. 7.5.
All right. That's
Ezra's 10, John's 8, right?
I was 9.
9. Dude, you guys loved this movie.
Yeah, I told you it's a family favorite. It's a classic masterpiece to me. Great filmmaking. I liked our dynamic in watching this because we had all seen it before, but it had been this was basically Michael's first time watching
I
it.
think I
He
was
had
like
forgotten
8
everything.
when I watched it
Yeah,
the first time.
Right. So it was different perspective. So I liked that a lot. It was really good. It added.
It was only my second viewing really of late, and Ezra the master. So yeah, good perspective. All right, I think we've expressed our thoughts well enough. So I think that'll do it. Thanks to anyone who was listening for listening, and this has been Fry Time Reviews. Peace out.
Yeah, boys.